Good morning, everyone. I trust you are well. Today we're going to be covering the S1 briefing. Let me just share my screen. So this is a summative assessment, and your test dates or your dates of submission are between the 30th of October and the 5th of November 2021. So you have about 7 days in order for you to submit this assessment, and you will be submitting on call campus. You need an average of around 30 independent hours in order for you to be prepared for the submission of this assessment. Now, in terms of the scope of the assessment, this is a summative assessment, but it takes the form of an individual assignment. So this means that you must work individually, and it's not a test, it's an assignment. So that means that all the rules of an assignment apply, and we will go through them a bit later on in the scope. Remember, failure for you to adhere to the instructions thereof or failure for you to submit this assessment will result or will attract a 30% penalty. The assignment requires that you know and understand the facts, the frameworks, the principles, as well as theories that are covered in this semester. So whatever that we have covered in this semester, as it is based on chapters 1, 2, and 3 of your marketing decoded textbook. So please make sure that you are comfortable with all the concepts that we've covered in chapters 1, 2, and 3 of your marketing decoded textbook. And the assessment or the individual assignment is out of 100 marks. Now, it is based on a case study, and the case study is on flying fish. I will just go through the case study now. It says Flying Fish launches Ghost Kitchen to inspire smart drinking choices by Lauren Hottenberg, 6th August 2021. So it's quite a recent case study, which is quite exciting. And the case study reads as follows. South African society's relationship with irresponsible alcohol consumption came into sharp focus during the COVID-19 pandemic. 4 booze bans have ravaged the country's alcohol industry and placed approximately 250,000 jobs in the value chain at risk. Brands and producers in this space have rightfully ramped up messaging around responsible consumption for the sake of public health, industry recovery, and the preservation of livelihoods. Encouraging consumers to put smart drinking choices into action in a memorable way is flavored beer brand Flying Fish, which has partnered with Uber Eats to launch a branded dark or ghost kitchen called Flying Dish. The beer brand will be serving food instead of drinks to highlight the importance of lining one's stomach before indulging in one's favorite tipple. Food first, Flying Fish later. The Flying Fish x Uber Eats partnership attempts to cut through the marketing clutter to drive home the message of food first, Flying Fish later, while tapping into the booming demand for food delivery services. Explaining the inspiration behind the hashtag Eat With It campaign, Flying Fish brand manager Zachary Kingston told Biz Community, in a world where consumers tune out the majority of advertising they're exposed to, we needed a way to get them to pay attention. So we thought, it's not enough to encourage consumers to drink responsibly. We have also to give them the means, and the Flying Dish is one of the ways we are doing this. Given that we are facing the realities of COVID-19, we wanted to ensure that people can drink responsibly without necessarily having to go out. With the Flying Dish, we have something that can respond to all these requirements, and our consumers can act on our advice from the comfort of their couches. The brand paraphrases Tegwin Hughes at Queen's University, who states that the science behind eating before alcohol consumption is precise. The fat in food sticks to the stomach's lining for an extended period while drinking, slowing the process of the alcohol flow into the bloodstream and extending the amount of time a person is sober. The Flying Dish Kitchen launches on Friday, 6th of August in Johannesburg locations, operating 6 days a week with Cape Town next on the agenda. The menu features casual favorites loved by South African palates. Think fried chicken, kota, bani chow, nachos, ribs, burgers, and a selection of vegetarian and vegan options. So it's quite comprehensive. Flying Fish roped in culinary talents Chef Neo Nonto and Chef Alex Torao and their team of skilled chefs and assistants to bring the Flying Dish vision to life. Here's some pictures there. We strongly believe that you can't enjoy to the fullest without a full stomach. The main objective of this campaign is to drive a change in behavior, whereby consumers eat first and drink second, said Kingston. We hope that consumers find that they enjoy eating before they drink by experiencing all the benefits that come from this simple behavior. They can enjoy themselves for longer, avoid a hangover, and adopt a much safer approach to drinking holistically. We strongly believe that you can't enjoy yourself to the fullest without a full stomach. The main objective of this campaign is to drive a change in behavior, whereby consumers eat first and drink second, said Kingston. We hope that consumers find that they enjoy eating before they drink. By experiencing all the benefits that come from this simple behavior, they can enjoy themselves for longer, avoid a hangover, and adopt a much safer approach to drinking holistically. With many consumers desensitized to the barrage of responsible drinking messages, what do brands need to consider when crafting campaigns and conversations around this important topic? For Kingston, it boils down to simply listening to your consumers, who will tell you precisely what you need to do to get people to take notice. For us, this meant going beyond the obvious and not just telling people about the negatives of drinking on an empty stomach or lecturing them, but rather taking a fun approach to showcasing the benefits around eating before you drink and responsible consumption behavior. He elaborated, the last piece of the puzzle is not just highlighting the problem, but being a part of the solution by giving consumers platforms that they can engage with that makes acting on their advice easy and worthwhile. So that is the case study. I think quite an interesting and relevant case study, especially for the time that we're living in, where we are basically faced with the challenge of alcohol abuse in our country. So question 1 is out of 20 marks, and it has 3 questions. Question 1.1, remember all the questions would then be based on the case study. So question 1.1 says, many people think that marketing means selling or advertising. And the question is, define the term marketing. And this is out of 3 marks. This should be fairly easy. I think we covered this concept much earlier on, and we've covered it again and again and again throughout our lessons. So this should be quite easy. Define the term marketing. Make sure that you give a comprehensive definition. And remember that this is an assignment, so you would need to reference accordingly so that you're able to get the full marks. The evidence requirements should be at the end of the assignment. So I will go through the evidence requirements much later on. But please do remember that you need to reference according to Harvard referencing requirements. Also look at the Boston Media House referencing guide in order to be assisted further, or in order to get a better idea on how to reference. 1.2 says, explain the relationship between marketing and advertising. This is out of 5 marks. We also dwelt a bit on this one. It was also part of one of your other assessments. So explain the relationship between marketing and advertising. The mistake that other people made was that they defined what marketing is, they defined what advertising is, and that was their answer. Remember, the question actually asks you to explain the relationship between marketing and advertising. So yes, you can tell us what marketing is. You can tell us how advertising comes into the picture of marketing, but we clearly want to understand what the relationship between the two is. So yes, tell us what marketing is, tell us what advertising is, but also define the relationship between the two. Then 1.3 says, use the simple marketing system to illustrate the 4 types of exchange that occur between Flying Fish Dish Kitchen and their customers. We also looked at simple marketing systems in one of our earlier lectures. So you should be able to do this one to illustrate the 4 types of exchange that occur between Flying Dish Kitchen and their customers. So you are not just going to give me the simple marketing system, but you are going to apply the simple marketing system to the case study, right? And you're going to illustrate or to demonstrate the 4 types of exchanges that would then occur between Flying Dish Kitchen and their customers. And this is out of 12 marks. So it's quite a hefty question in terms of mark allocation. Then question 2 is out of 20 marks. And it is around pricing decisions, right? And the question reads as follows: pricing decisions have an impact on a firm's revenue, profitability, as well as survival. Flying Dish Kitchen has approached you as a seasoned marketer to come to their organization and explain the steps they need to follow in coming up with a price. Explain the pricing steps they need to follow and recommend the objectives, the strategy, and pricing tactics they should adopt to arrive at a price. This is out of 20 marks. We also covered this comprehensively when we were looking at the 4 Ps and the related strategies. So this we covered, I think, under the pricing strategy. So you should also be able to come up with this. Please make sure that your answer is detailed. This is 20 marks. So please don't just give I don't know, an answer that is not as comprehensive as we expect it to be. The requirement is that you explain the pricing steps that Flying Dish Kitchen needs to take. You need to recommend the objectives. You need to come up with a pricing strategy, and you also need to tell us what the pricing tactics are that Flying Dish Kitchen should adopt to arrive at a price. Right? So those are all your requirements. Please make sure that you fulfill all of them, even if you have to make headings of each and every one to make sure that you have answered the question fully. Right? 20 marks is a lot of marks. And then question 3, also out of 20 marks. Marketers need to constantly monitor the marketing environment, identify the factors influencing the organization, and develop strategies for the survival and growth of organizations. Identify and explain any 4 external environment factors or variables that will affect Flying Dish Kitchen as they launch their product into their markets, right? And you're given a hint there. It says research and practically apply factors that will influence Flying Dish Kitchen, right? So this is around external factors that exist within the marketing environment. So you need to state 4 external factors or any variables that will then affect Flying Dish Kitchen as they launch their product into the market. So this is you now going and conducting research on those variables that exist within the external environment that would particularly affect Flying Dish as they launch their product, right? So this needs to be as practical as possible, but it also needs to involve an element of research. So don't just thumbsuck answers. Go and do your research on these external environmental factors that will then affect Flying Dish. We covered the different various marketing environments. We covered the various environments in which brands exist. So this should not be difficult for you. It is also out of 20 marks. So please make sure that once you've identified your 4 factors, you are able to give a comprehensive answer. You are also able to apply this to the case study at hand. Then question 4, which would then be your last question for the assessment, is also out of 20 marks. So marketers need to understand their customers' needs and wants of their target market. Marketers need to understand customer needs and wants of the target market. So Flying Dish Kitchen is planning to conduct primary research to understand options it should include as part of its menu, right? Identify any 4 primary data collection methods and explain how they will use them to collect the information, right? So the background of the question is that as a marketer, you need to have some sort of understanding of your customers' needs and wants, right? And as Flying Dish Kitchen, they are planning to conduct primary research to understand the options that they should include as part of their menu. So as a marketer who's conducting the research, you need to, first of all, identify any 4 primary data collection methods, right? And then after identifying them, explain how Flying Dish Kitchen would then be able to use them to collect information. So this is also out of 20 marks. So please make sure that in answering the question, you give sufficient information that will enable you to get the full 20 marks, right? So make sure you identify those 4 primary collection methods. Make sure that you explain each of them. Make sure that you also apply them to the case study and explain how Flying Dish Kitchen in particular will be able to use them to collect the information. And then you have an additional marks, 20 marks. I'm expecting that each and every one of you will be able to get the 20 marks, because this is really free marks if you follow the question, right? So the marks are allocated. 7 marks you will get for the first 7 marks of the 20 marks, 20 additional marks you will get for proper referencing according to the Harvard referencing method. So you are meant to reference all sources accurately and correctly, both in text and a list of references. So make sure that each and every question that you answer, you have an in-text reference. And please check, go do your research, go look at the Boston Media House referencing guide on how to do in-text referencing using Harvard referencing method. Also make sure that whatever you reference in text, you also put as a full reference in your reference list. That is how you will get the full 7 marks. And make sure that your referencing is complete as well. The reference list is complete. So when you put in a reference in the reference list, make sure that it is complete. The full reference is there. Don't just put the name of a website. Don't just put the name of an article, but make sure that you've got everything that is there. The author is there, the data there, the access data there, everything that you need to fulfill in terms of your Harvard referencing requirements, right? So that is a free 7 marks if you do it properly. B, the other 7 marks you will get for good use of language. This is an assignment, so we are going to be very strict on the use of language. Make sure that you check your spelling, make sure that you check your grammar, make sure that your sentence construction is good and it's logical, and that your work has got some sort of flow. This is an easy 7 marks that you can get. There are programs that are available that are able to help you and that are able to check if your spelling and your grammar is correct. So please make use of all those online facilities to make sure that you submit an assignment that makes use of good language. And then the last 6 marks is on professional presentation and formatting following all evidence requirements. This is 6 marks. So all evidence requirements. So I will go through the evidence requirements. So the evidence requirements are at the end here. So make sure that this is a typed assignment. Make sure that you have a cover page, and your cover page has to have your full names. It has to have your student numbers. It has to have the subject. It has to have the campus, whether you're in Sandton or you're in Durban, or whether you're in Pretoria. It has to have the lecturer's name. My name is Dinelto, so it has to have my name. Make sure that your name is correct on the cover page. If you don't have a name on the cover page, then you will not get marks, because we are not going to be looking around checking where to allocate marks to or who to allocate marks to. If your name is not there, that means that you will not be getting the marks, right? The font that you must use is Times New Roman or Arial, right? So you can choose between the two. The font size that you must use is 12, and the spacing, line spacing, must be 1.5. Please make sure that after you have done your assignment, and this is why you must give yourself enough time, don't leave this to the last minute. After you have done your assignment, go through it and make sure that you have fulfilled all these evidence requirements. If you have fulfilled all these evidence requirements, then you will get the 6 marks for formatting as well as presentation, right? All work must be original. So as per the Boston Media House policy, penalties for plagiarism of a maximum of -20% will apply if there is evidence of plagiarism. We have penalized a lot of students before for plagiarism. So please make sure that you submit your own work. Please make sure that you reference wherever you need to reference. Please make sure that you paraphrase in all the questions that you answer, that you don't just copy and paste verbatim, right? So please make sure that you follow the referencing guide. And make sure you follow the brief. I think it's quite straightforward. So just make sure that you follow the brief. A 30% penalty will apply if the assignment is not done individually, right? So if you treat this as a group assignment, a 30% penalty will apply. Also use the spell checker of the computer to make sure spelling and grammar are correct. I already spoke about this. it is a very poor reflection on you for you to submit an assignment that has spelling errors or that has grammatical errors, right? So please make sure that you use the spell checker on your computer, which has got a spell checker, to make sure that your spelling and grammar are correct. And then the reference that is given here, this is the reference for the article, and as you can see, Harvard referencing was used for this reference. If I'm just going to scroll a bit up, just so that we make sure that we've covered everything. So that is the gist of your 20 marks, or the Harvard referencing in text, as well as the list of references. That's your 7 marks, the good use of language, and you can use the spell checker or any other program that can help you with spelling and grammar. That's another 7 marks, and then following all evidence requirements, as well as professional presentation and formatting, that's another 6 marks. So that's a free 20 marks essentially if you cover everything that we've covered there. And then the learning objectives of this assessment. So through the summative assessment, you must demonstrate that you have knowledge of and understanding of marketing, with a specific focus on the following. So you should be able to explain the relationship between marketing and advertising. You should be able to classify markets, as well as identify a simple marketing system. You should be able to identify the elements of the marketing, as well as promotional mix, and illustrate the relationship between the two. You should be able to identify and explain the elements of the marketing mix. You should be able to identify factors from the environment that influence or affect organizations. You should be able to conduct research on the macro environment, as well as understand the concept of marketing research. So we've covered all of this so far. And then if you look at the assignment criteria and mark breakdown, we've got the marking rubric that we will be using here. And as you can see, this is how basically marks will be allocated to you. So we have where you have not met the requirements, we have where you have met the requirements, and where you have exceeded the requirements. And where you have exceeded the requirements, you will obviously get the maximum marks, right? Also, please make sure that under the rubric, you also check the additional marks, because that is how we will be marking. The fact that under referencing, we will check if you have cited and referenced all sources accurately and correctly, both in text and in the list of references, according to the Harvard referencing method as adopted by Boston Media House, right? In terms of the professional presentation and formatting, following all evidence requirements, including a typed, signed, and dated plagiarism declaration. So this should be part of your cover page. Make sure that on your cover page at the bottom, or even as your second page, you have, well, preferably as part of your cover page, you have a typed, signed, and dated plagiarism declaration, right? And the total is 100 marks. And that is it. That is the brief for the S1. Looking forward to those excellent results. Thank you.